Hello, and welcome to A Four-Born Life. Well, today we will be in my garden. Back in March, my husband and I went to Lowe's to get some lumber and some garden blocks so that I could work on my garden plan. When we first moved into this house, I made up a plan of what I wanted the garden to look like. And so I took my garden book and I laid out everything that I wanted to do in my garden. So this is the plan, and it's quite extensive. I wanted to put in a lot of hardscape, and I wanted garden beds, and I wanted like a food forest. And today I am working on my vegetable and herb garden. So as you can see, I already had some of the garden blocks, but I had taken another woman's suggestion to use cedar wood, fencing wood, but it's a little thin, so I wanted to get some thicker wood. When we first moved into this house, the only thing that was here were the azaleas. And so my first garden bed, I made it out of pallets. And I filled it up with leaves and then some soil. And my first garden bed was planted, and I planted collard greens and tomatoes and marigolds. Then we had a friend who had some bricks, and he gave me some bricks, and I took the bricks and I made 2 more garden beds. As you can see in those pictures, we still had grass there, and you can see my first garden bed that I made. And so as time went on, I wanted a little garden shed or garden station where I could plant and pot. So when you don't have a lot of money, what's your best friend? Pallets. So I took some pallets and I made me like a little garden station, but it looked a little junky and I really didn't like that. And so but I was okay with that because when you don't have a lot of money, pallets are your friend. So I got more bricks and I built more garden beds. And then I decided to extend my whole garden, and I took the leaves that I had in our yard and I used them to extend out my garden bed. Of course, first I put down cardboard, and then I put leaves on top of it. And I moved my little garden shed, and a friend gave me a door. And so I didn't know what to do with it, so I just laid the door across the front. And then I decided to prop the door up and make that into my garden shed. And so my garden was extending more and more. And I found that little bird bath for $2 at an estate sale. And so I extended the flower bed, and I was slowly working on my plan. And I made a little walkway. These were some towels that were already on the property when we moved in. So I was just using what I already had to work my garden plan. I used to love to watch HGTV, but then they started having all of the shows where people have, $24,000 to go and purchase everything they want and have somebody do everything and put it in their garden. Well, my garden is not that type of garden. I like to thrift. I like to find free. I like to do drive-bys on trash day. So if I'm driving by and I see something that I think might be utilized in my garden, I will go save it because, we need to save the earth and not put all that stuff in the landfill. But that's what I would do, and that's how I purchased and acquired some of the things that were in my garden. So when you're working on the garden, a lot of times it looks easy, and if you have the funds and the resources to go ahead and put your hardscape in first, I recommend that you do all of that first if you can lay out your garden. But if you don't, just realize that when you get ready to restructure it is going to be a little difficult. So this was what I was finding out. The new boards, the 4x2s that I purchased, they were a lot longer than the previous boards that I had in. So that I had to dig and move some of the soil so that I could put the garden blocks in so that the wood would fit. And that's what I was doing there. So once I did that, something was really biting me. I don't know, when I go outside and garden, most of the time you're going to see me, I'm fully dressed with pants, long sleeves, and in the summertime I have to put something around my neck because the insects love to bite me. I don't know if bugs like to bite you, but the mosquitoes really get me. And you see it's windy and blowing, but something was still biting me. I don't know why. So I'm just moving the soil out so I can get that block level. And I'm not sure if you can really tell from the video, but my backyard is sloped. And so I'm working up on the high end, and then it slopes down and it goes down, and I'm in my garden, my greenhouse, which I always put my tools and things in there too. But that's my little greenhouse that I purchased. And so I had to go get another tool because I'm really trying to dig in and get this block in, because when your yard is sloped, like my yard is sloped, the upper brick is going to be higher than the second brick. So I had to keep going back and forth trying to get that adjusted and get it even, so that it would be in the right place. So that first board, I had to really dig it in so that it would look level with the second one. And then I was deciding, did I want to do a double blocks, or did I want to make it single? So I'm working on getting those boards in place. And of course, my garden is already established, so this really makes it a little bit more difficult trying to get everything in place. And if you notice from the first, in the beginning of the video, I had 2 of the blocks because I had it up much higher, and I'm trying to work through the process. I thought that I wanted to make all of the beds with 2 of the blocks, but I decided not to do that because I wanted to have all 4 of the new boards, but it was going to make the garden much shorter, and I didn't want it to be shorter because that was going to be more work, and then it meant that I would have to cut into this bed. That first bed has my oregano in it. And so I was like, I really didn't want to do that. So I continued on, and I went back with the cedar fencing board because that made it a lot easier. You know, sometimes you have these things in your mind, but you have to say, what do you have time for and what do you have money for? Because I really didn't want to go back and spend more money on longer boards. So I decided to just keep those longer they're like 6 feet, I believe. Yeah, they're 6 feet cedar boards that I had on the side. And so I was just working through, and that's one of the new thicker boards that I went and purchased from Lowe's. Those are pre-cut, which was great, but even though they were pre-cut and they fit this first bed, when I get to the second bed, it's not going to be the same thing. So I just continued on trying to get this even. If you can really, you know, if you're a new beginner, if you are a new gardener, or you are working on your garden plan, if you can go ahead and get all of this these things in first, because once you have your garden already established, it's a lot more difficult to go back and put all of this stuff in. And I'm just trying to work it out in my mind. So I hope you'll come back to the second part of this working my garden plan, because I was determined this year that I was going to get my hardscape in and I was going to have my garden raised beds established the way that I wanted to. For watching my video, and here are a few clips of items that I have purchased from estate sales and garden sales, and the last photo is of one of my favorite pictures in the garden. Thank you for watching. I hope you'll come back.